Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. Up and at 'em. Today's Monday, June 2nd. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, I thought we'd talk about back to trash or treasure. That you make your money when you're buying, not when you're selling. And I think as we go into it, it'll make more sense of what I'm trying to get across. So, stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and yes, this is a weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Monday, guys. Time to get up and get going. What is it? It's almost 3 in the morning here. So what am I saying that you you make your money when you buy? All right? This is going to take your knowledge and your know-how. It's going to take a little bit of detective work to find out what certain machines are worth, what the market is getting for them. You know, I tell people when they have something, you can put whatever price you want on it. That's your choice. But it's what it actually sells for is the medium market, is what people are willing to pay. So, I mean, if you buy a used mower, put 20 bucks into it, and think you're going to sell it for $1,000, probably isn't going to work out to your favor. Now, if that mower, if you've done your homework, and most repair shops know exactly what stuff are worth, if they also can do floor planning. I get the sheets on all of it, right? So I know what new is, and usually used is right around half of what new is a kind of a good medium, depending upon the age, right? But it's when you buy it is when you're gonna. It's like money in the bank. You're putting money into it for the future, right? And that's what we do when we buy used lawnmowers. We're buying it hopefully to make more money in the future on it, and we're using our skills to repair it, and then our sales skills to sell it. And the idea is buy low, sell high, right? And I'm not saying that you're going to get all these deals in your life of where you're buying for 500 and you're selling for 1,000, and all you had to do was replace a fuse that blew. Those are few and far between. But you can go overboard too. You can buy a machine for 500, put another 500 into it, and have it all new spindles, blades, belts, and have it only be worth 600. And now you're backwards on it, right? So you need to know the market, for one. And you also need to know what is a price that you know would sell quickly. The market's going to dictate what mowers are profitable. And that's going to vary by region, right? Somebody closer to the city, push mowers are going to sell like hotcakes. As you get outside into the rural America, where people are mowing acres, having riders and zero turns is the norm. So knowing that what the market is a must. Now last year, what did we have? I think it was 2 riders and 2 pushes, and I think I sold 1. So last year, for whatever reason, people weren't even buying used. So the market is saying they have no value. And actually, the 2 push mowers and the 1 rider I held over, and this year sold like hotcakes. We're completely out of used stuff. I sold a ride-on, a zero-turn, 2 regular push mowers, and 1 self-propelled. and I doubled my money on every one of them. And how did I do that? Because I bought them right. When you're out buying, you have to come take a look and have a honest market view, not your view, a market view of what that machine is worth. And then you have to give half. And customers are going to, or the person selling it is going to kind of give you a look, and that's where you say, look, I have to buy it, run it through my shop, and then resell it. On a good day, I could get what you're asking right now. That's after I've gone through it, serviced it, and got it ready for one of my customers. And that takes time and that takes money. So now if I don't buy it for half, I'm going to have into it what you're asking for full. And I would go backwards if I paid you the $1,000 and had to stick another $500 into it in time and labor and parts. It's a no-brainer. You need to walk away. I always find when I'm dealing with people, honesty is the best policy. Because a lot of sellers understand. They don't want to deal with the public all the time, kicking tires and everything else. They're just trying to get a fair price for it. And most people that are selling that went out and bought a new mower or whatever like that understand that. They understand that it's a hassle trying to deal with people sometimes. And they don't want to stick around and have somebody kicking tires on their lawnmower and wasting their time for weeks. We buy the bigger stuff too, which is farm tractors. And I actually went and looked at two of them this weekend. And it was one that was one of our customers that decided that they're going to get out of the farming business. And they want to know if I'd be interested in the pair to buy to resell. So, make a long story short, I get over there and I start the one. It's a 38 horse. I start it and I can hear a rod or a main bearing knocking. Now, for most of you that don't have mechanical skills, that's the point of where you run in the opposite direction. For you guys that do have mechanical skills, that's when you walk in the other direction. Because he was asking $1,500, which is fair for parts price. Tires, rims, parts. If you had an international equivalent size, it's worth $1,500 for parts. So he wasn't that far off on his price. It's just that even at $1,500, if I were to buy it and zero the labor on it, just the parts to redo the engine would be probably around $2,000, and then my labor, Claude's labor. And then what is the tractor worth after it's running and driving? And on a good day, it had a loader on it, but on a good day, it was Industrial International, the yellow color. You might get $5,000 out of it, all right? But those good days are few and far between. See, I've even given the thoughts to, is it time for me to get out and sell all my equipment? Cattle, everything. Because the market's strong. But the way I look at it, we're into June. For any farmer looking for equipment, good chances are they've already found it. Because they've been looking all winter trying to make sure they have what they needed this spring to do their haying and that stuff. So I've gone past the date. So if I decide to sell, the better time to sell would be next spring. And advertise that I'm selling next spring. And I may do just that. But that's what I'm saying, is that you need to understand what the prices are and most people that have shops do. And then look at what you're going to have to put into it. I know with a lot of our customers, they give it to us for free. Actually, the push mowers, 2 of them were given to us. We don't want it anymore. The one self-propelled, the guy went out and bought an eco battery operated unit and said, if you guys can use it, you've always taken good care of me, take it. So I did. Because a lot of people don't want to have to screw around waiting for people that don't show up, that say they want to come, or they'll ask 1,000 questions on Facebook and then leave you hanging after you spent all the time answering all their questions, or they'll show up and they'll give you pennies on the dollar for it, or they'll offer that. And then it pisses you off, and then you go back into the house and then you're fuming the rest of the day, right? Whereas a lot of the people in this area, they just come to me first and say, Eric, is this something you can use? And at that point, it's either a freebie to unload, or it's something that they know that I have to run through the shop. And what kind of quality that machine has got to be for me to sell it. If the training's bad, if the engine's got a knock, it's a parts machine. Through and through, it's a parts machine. Now, if I've got a sister to it sitting up in the boneyard that's got a good engine, and that one's got a knocking engine, and just doing an engine swap, but that still takes time. Those are the projects that I tell you that's the best time to do it, is during the winter when it slows down. Get yourself a bunch of projects that you want to, and write them down and what's wrong and how you're going to solve the issues. And then when you do have free time, bring them in. If you got one that you got a sister that has a good engine, but the other one is in better shape, body-wise, tires, anything else, do it during the winter. Bring it into the shop, both of them, and set them side by side. Use the crane, like we do. Lift one out, set it on the floor, lift the other one out, slide it on the gantry crane, and drop it onto the other one. But I need to have you guys understand the concept of it. When you sell it is not when you make the money. It's buying it right. If you don't buy it right, you could end up sitting and eating it. And that's happened to me before. And the way I look at that is, it's an education. It's like going to college and paying tuition. You're going to take losses on certain stuff. And I guarantee you that the quicker you figure out why you're doing the losses, the better off you're going to be, right? And you're going to learn not to overprice something and pay overprice, and learn when to walk away. Even though it looks pretty and you really like to have it, you need to walk away if the deal isn't a good deal. Like that tractor with the engine knocking on the rod or main bearings is not a good deal. If it's a quick fix, but you aren't going to know that. I mean, if it needs a fuse and the customer can't get it to do anything, the minute you put that fuse in front of him and start it, the price goes up. But if you buy it and get it home, swap the fuse out, and it still doesn't do anything, so you buy it as you see it, in the condition it's in. And don't be thinking, I can quick fix this. All right? What's it worth for parts? If it doesn't run and you can't hear it run, what's it worth for parts? That's where you need to be. Not where it's running and driving out the door. If that makes any sense. In the comments, what are you guys doing when you're flipping? I mean, it's a lucrative side hustle you can do at any time, whether you're a do-it-yourselfer or nights and weekends. I know a lot of guys that buy and then bring them through the shop and then flip them. That's where they make their extra money during the winter time. They have 8 or 10 mowers that they get fixed during the winter months when it's slow, and then they pedal them in the spring of the year. See, lawnmowers are the same thing. If you don't get that spring rush where everybody's looking for it, it's not going to bring as much the later in the season it gets, right? Because most people that are looking for a lawnmower have already got one by the time you hit June 2nd. If that makes any sense. Because it's going to have to make sense when you're buying. The later you buy in the year, you have to figure you're going to have to sit on it almost a full year and fix whatever the issues are if you want to try to resell it. I mean, I don't know about you guys and stuff, but I'm constantly looking at the prices of what stuff goes for. And as a shop owner, I have to, right? Because as I'm working on customers' machines, I have to go in and take a look and say, you know, when you start getting up to where it's going to cost the customer some money, then you have to get a hold of the customer, right? But you're also doing the research of what's it worth. And once you start getting up to where it's about half of what a new one is, that's where the customer will usually just say, forget it, I'm just going to go buy a new one. So as shop owners, we need to know what stuff is selling for. Whether it's what it's selling for new and what it's selling for used. And if it was my machine, would I put the money into it? And that's what I'm calling the customer. If I happen to make that decision, that call, I can't tell the customer, oh, I think it'd be a great idea to do and put all this stuff into it just to make extra money for the shop. That's not my style. I don't think that's a reputable shop would do. It's giving good advice to your customer so that they're grounded and they understand. And if it's one of those deals of where they can't afford to step out and buy a new one and they want to put in a little bit more, or it's, you know, something their father had and they want to keep it running, so they're looking at it at sentimental value instead of value-wise of what's it worth on the open market. So you need to know all that stuff. And that stuff comes with time. The more you do it, the more you're just out of habit. You're checking the prices of what stuff is selling new. And a lot of times customers will come in and give me that information of where one guy just the other day said he was down at the local John Deere dealership and he was looking at zero turns and the cheapest one was over $4,000 used. And that's how I sold the zero turn I had. I told him, I said, look, I got a good deal for you. And I went out and I put him in a zero turn. We had a John Deere with a 42-inch deck. And I let him have it for $750. And I told him, you know, think about it. And it's still early yet because we hadn't started mowing yet. And it wasn't half an hour. He said he had to go talk to his wife. It wasn't a half an hour and he come back with the cash and said, I'll take it. Because he'd been looking at used ones starting at $4,000 and up. So $750 was a cheap investment. And he's loving it. Actually, he tried mowing a hayfield with it the other day and burned the belt up. But, you know, he's asking me if we replaced the belt on it when just before I sold it. And I said, no, it's the original belt that came with it. He said that made him feel better because if it was a new belt and he burnt it up that fast, that I said, you shouldn't be mowing hayfields with it anyways. You need a brush hog. And then, you know, if it's used, Do you give a warranty on it? And we do. I mean, Claude likes to say a threshold warranty. The minute it leaves the property, that's the threshold. But that's not how I do business. If I sell it to somebody and I find out that they're beating the piss out of it and then they bring it back and it's all beat to piss, no, ain't happening. But if I have a customer that takes care of their stuff and they get it home and it blows a belt the minute they get it home, yes, I'll replace the belt or I'll adjust the valve, whatever it needs. Because my feeling is I want customers for the long term. And you're going to make money on them most of the time, but some of the time you're going to have to earn that money. And that means doing some freebies for time and covering the parts. So on that note, you guys have a great Monday. Leave in the comments what you guys think of today's segment. Are you flipping lawnmowers out there, and how do you approach it? How do you approach buying something? Do you buy it as a parts machine, or are you knowing the market and giving half of what market value is? And I'm assuming it's running and driving, but what if it's not running and driving? What then? And you're going to get burnt a couple of times, and don't get upset about it. It's no different than going to college and paying thousands of dollars for a tuition to make you smarter. You're going to learn quickly and save yourself money, or you're going to be one of those hard-headed and lose quite a bit of money. But either way, you're going to get an education, right? All right, guys. You guys enjoy your Monday.